Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we are dissecting a massive, invisible shift that is dismantling the world we thought we knew. We are talking about the Great Reordering. For 30 years, the global operating system ran on a single, seductive premise: efficiency is king. From the fall of the Berlin Wall to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the entire global economy was designed as a frictionless machine. We stretched supply chains taut across oceans to capture the lowest labor costs, the cheapest raw materials, and the most efficient just-in-time delivery schedules. Consider the life of a single microchip. It might be designed in California, etched in Taiwan, packaged in Malaysia, and assembled into a phone in China before finally being sold in Germany. In that era, orders were viewed as inconveniences to be minimized, not barriers to be fortified. That era is over. We have entered a new age, defined not by efficiency, but by resilience and technological sovereignty. The frictionless world has been replaced by a landscape of choke points, trade wars, and strategic decoupling. Governments no longer ask, where can this be made cheapest? They now ask a much darker question: if the world falls apart, can we still make this at all? This shift is not merely a tweak in trade policy, it is a fundamental reordering of the global operating system. The pursuit of technological sovereignty, the capacity of a state to provide for its own critical technological needs without reliance on potentially hostile foreign actors, is now the primary driver of industrial strategy in Washington, Brussels, Beijing, and beyond. Today we are going to explore the anatomy of this transformation, dissecting how the quest for control over silicon, critical minerals, digital infrastructure, and biotechnology is building something entirely new. To understand this upheaval, we first need to define the term that is reshaping the world: technological sovereignty. It is important to clarify that this is not autarky. No modern nation, not even a superpower like the United States or China, can be 100% self-sufficient in every technology. The complexity of a modern semiconductor supply chain, which involves thousands of specialized steps across dozens of countries, makes total isolation impossible. Instead, technological sovereignty is about agency and asymmetric interdependence. It is the ability to control the most critical nodes of a supply chain, so that no foreign power can hold your economy hostage. It is about ensuring that if a geopolitical rival turns off the tap, your factories do not stop running, your hospitals do not run out of medicine, and your grid does not go dark. We can break this down into three pillars. First, there is defensive resilience. This is the ability to withstand shocks, meaning you have domestic capacity, or friend-shored supply lines for essential goods. Second is offensive leverage. This is the weaponization of interdependence. By controlling key technologies, like the US control over semiconductor design software or China's dominance in gallium processing, nations gain leverage over their rivals. And third is standard setting. This is the power to write the rules. Whether it's the protocols for 5G, the ethics of artificial intelligence, or the standards for green hydrogen, sovereignty means your values are baked into the technology itself. Three specific events dismantled the old consensus of efficiency first. First, the US-China trade war, beginning in 2018. Tariffs and entity lists shattered the illusion that economic integration would inevitably lead to political convergence. Second, the COVID-19 pandemic. When borders closed in 2020, nations realized that their efficient supply chains were terrifyingly fragile. Europe found itself unable to produce basic paracetamol. The US scrambled for ventilators. The lesson was brutal. You cannot buy sovereignty on the spot market during a crisis. And third, the war in Ukraine. The energy crisis in Europe following the Russian invasion served as a grim warning for the tech sector. Just as Germany had over-relied on Russian gas, the world realized it had over-relied on Taiwanese chips and Chinese battery minerals. De-risking became the phrase of the decade. Now, let's look at the specific battlegrounds, starting with the silicon shields. If oil was the resource that defined the geopolitics of the 20th century, semiconductors are the resource of the 21st. They are the brains of the modern economy, powering everything from F-35 fighter jets to toaster ovens. The semiconductor supply chain is a marvel of specialization, but this specialization creates extreme vulnerability through choke points. Take design, for example. The US dominates the electronic design automation, or EDA, software required to design complex chips. This is a key choke point Washington uses to limit China's access to advanced AI capabilities. Then there is lithography. A single Dutch company, ASML, produces the extreme ultraviolet lithography machines necessary to print the most advanced chips. Without ASML's machines, you cannot make a modern iPhone processor. This monopoly has made the Netherlands a surprising geopolitical heavyweight. And then, manufacturing. Taiwan, specifically TSMC, produces over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. This concentration is the silicon shield, a deterrent against invasion, but also a terrifying single point of failure for the global economy. In response, governments are spending hundreds of billions to buy their way out of this vulnerability. The U.S. CHIPS and Science Act is injecting $52 billion to lure manufacturing back to American soil, ensuring domestic capacity for sensitive military and AI applications. Intel, TSMC, and Samsung are building massive fabs in Arizona, Ohio, and Texas. Europe launched its own CHIPS Act to double its market share by 2030, aiming for strategic autonomy. Meanwhile, China has its big fund, pouring capital into its domestic industry to circumvent U.S. export controls. The result is a bifurcated market. We are moving toward a world with two distinct technology stacks, a Western stack and a Chinese stack, with little interoperability between them. But you cannot build a digital future without physical stuff. This brings us to the raw material of sovereignty, critical minerals. The green paradox of the 21st century is that the transition to clean energy and digital sovereignty requires a massive increase in mining. Electric vehicles, wind turbines, and defense systems are hungry for lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth elements. Here, the sovereignty map looks bleak for the West. While raw ores are distributed globally, the processing of these minerals is overwhelmingly concentrated in China. China controls roughly 90% of the processing capacity for rare earth elements and refines over 60% of the world's lithium and 70% of its cobalt. This dominance gives Beijing a potent lever. In 2023, restrictions on gallium, germanium, and graphite served as warning shots. To achieve sovereignty, Western nations are attempting to build an entire mine-to-magnet supply chain from scratch. The Mineral Security Partnership is a coalition aiming to finance mining projects in friendly nations. We are seeing a China Plus One strategy, where companies are aggressively hedging by building processing facilities in Australia, Canada, and the US. Simultaneously, innovation offers an escape route. Japan and companies like Tesla are investing in technologies that reduce or eliminate the need for rare earths in magnets. This is technological sovereignty through innovation, inventing your way out of dependence. If chips are the brain and minerals are the body, then 5G networks are the nervous system. The controversy over Huawei was the opening salvo of the tech sovereignty era, illustrating that infrastructure is no longer neutral. For years, Huawei offered the best gear at the lowest price. But in the sovereignty paradigm, the fear of a kill switch, the theoretical ability of a foreign power to shut down critical infrastructure, trumped cost. The US-led campaign to remove Huawei gear established that national security now overrides economic efficiency. One interesting response here is Open RAN. Traditionally, telecom gear is a proprietary black box. Open RAN seeks to standardize interfaces, so carriers can mix and match hardware and software from different vendors. It is a technological solution to a geopolitical problem, attempting to favor Western software strengths over Eastern hardware dominance. However, the battle for 5G is largely decided. The focus has now shifted to 6G, where sovereignty is about standards. Who owns the essential patents? China is currently leading in 6G patent applications. A vote on a technical protocol in a standard-setting body is no longer just technical. It is a vote on whose industrial base will dominate the next decade. Moving from the digital to the biological, we find pharmaceutical sovereignty. The pandemic exposed a terrifying reality. The West had outsourced its biological survival. By 2020, a vast percentage of generic drugs and active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs, depended on Chinese supply chains. The response has been a shift toward health security. The US and Europe are using public funds to reshore API production for essential medicines. But bringing jobs back is expensive due to labor costs. The solution is automation. Advanced technologies like continuous manufacturing allow drugs to be made in a continuous flow in smaller, highly automated facilities. This shrinks the factory footprint and reduces labor needs, making it competitive to produce drugs in high-cost countries. This highlights a key theme. Automation is the enabler of reshoring. So, how do nations and corporations manage these complex, fragmented supply chains? They turn to the ABCD of Industry 4.0, AI, blockchain, cloud, and data. We face a transparency problem. In a globalized world, ignorance is a liability. You need to prove your supply chain is clean of sanctions or forced labor. Blockchain is moving beyond crypto hype to become a tool for sovereign provenance. For example, the EU is implementing a battery passport regulation, requiring a digital record of a battery's entire life cycle. If you cannot digitally prove your supply chain sovereignty, you cannot sell. Companies are also building digital twins, virtual replicas of their entire supply chain to simulate shocks. Executives can run scenarios. What if the Straits of Malacca close? This transforms resilience from a vague goal into a quantifiable metric. The bleeding edge is agentic AI. These are autonomous AI agents that don't just predict disruptions but actively manage them, booking alternative freight or updating production schedules without human intervention. This is the ultimate form of supply chain sovereignty, a self-healing network. However, this drive for sovereignty comes with profound risks. First, there is inflationary pressure. Resilience is expensive. Building redundant factories and stockpiling inventory costs money. The peace dividend of cheap global goods is gone. Consumers will pay the price at the checkout counter. Second, there is the innovation tax. Science thrives on openness. The splinternet, where the US and China have separate ecosystems, will slow down global innovation. If scientists cannot collaborate, global R&D efficiency plummets. And finally, the rest of the world dilemma. Nations in the global south risk being forced to choose sides. We are seeing a new non-aligned movement emerge, where countries like India, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil attempt to play both sides, refusing to become vassal states of either tech ecosystem. In conclusion, we are witnessing the pendulum of history swing violently back from hyperglobalization toward the nation-state. Technological sovereignty is the new organizing principle of the global economy. It is rewriting trade deals, redirecting capital flows, and redefining national security. Yet total sovereignty is a mirage. The goal should not be autarky, but strategic interdependence, being sovereign enough to say no to coercion, but open enough to say yes to cooperation. The winners of this new era will not be the ones who build the highest walls, but the ones who build the most resilient bridges. The era of just in time is dead. Long live the era of just in case.